Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create a table using structured query language. Now, structured query language, or SQL as it's known, is the programming language that's used to manage and modify databases, specifically relational database models. It's used by Microsoft in their Microsoft SQL Server. It's used by Oracle in their flagship product, Oracle databases. It's used by Amazon and their web services. Google uses it. It's widely used in just about any relational database modeling system. It's a fairly standard language, and it's based off commands. And as far as programming goes, it's one of the more simpler programming language to use, just because of its command-driven syntaxes. So we can do things, it has such commands as select, we can insert things, we can update tables and queries, delete things, create things, alter, drop, truncate. There's a whole host of things that we can do using SQL within a relational database model. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to create a customer table inside Access using structured query language. Now, in order to access SQL in Access, we're going to go over to our Create tab, and we're going to choose Query Design right here. Now, it's important to note that SQL, structured query language, to access that in various types of programs, how you get to it is different within the program, but the actual commands and the programming language that you use is exactly the same. So in the example, in the table that we're going to build here, would be the exact same commands that you would use if you were building a table in SQL Server for Microsoft or one of Oracle's programs as well. All right, now to access SQL, we want to go over here to the far left where it says SQL, and we'll click on that, and you can see it says collect. I'm hoping you're able to see this. The font's a bit small. Unfortunately, I can't make it any larger. Now, we're going to start out, we don't want the select command here. What we want to do for this code is we want to use the create command. So we're going to type in create, okay, space, table. We want to create a table, space, and this is going to be for customers. Okay, once we've done that, you'll hit enter. We'll get your cursor just below create, and we'll put an open parenthesis. Okay, once we have our open parenthesis in there, we'll hit enter again. Now we're on the third line, and we're going to call this customer underscore ID. That's going to be the name of this field. Hit your space bar one time. And now this is where we're actually going to define the data. So this particular type of data is going to be an integer, should be a number. So we'll just type in int. Then we'll hit our space bar one more time. And now in uppercase letters, we're going to type in not null. Space null. And what this does, this basically prevents this field from not having any information in it. It has to contain data. Now, the other thing that we want to do with this particular field is we want to make our customer ID our primary key. If you recall, when we're building out a relational database model and we're creating relationships between tables, we do that by connecting the primary key on one table to the foreign key on another table. So we'll type in, first we hit our space bar one time, we'll type in primary space key. Okay, now very important, we put a comma at the end of the command line. Okay, once you've done that, we'll hit enter. And now we want to create a field for last name. So we'll type in last name, and we'll hit our space bar one time. And we're going to write a command called varchar, V-A-R-C-H-A-R, which just is an abbreviation for variable character. Okay, now we're going to specify the number of characters that can be used on that line in that command. So For last name, we can just limit it to 50 characters. So we'll have an open parenthesis, 50, close parenthesis. Now we are finished coding that command on that line there. So we'll put in another comma, hit enter. And now we're going to put in first name, space, and it'll be the same thing. The data type will be varchar, variable character, open parenthesis, we'll limit it to 50 characters, close parenthesis, and comma. Next, we want a field for the customer's address. So hit enter, and we'll type in address. Okay, hit our space bar, and this will be variable characters as well. And we're going to use the maximum variable characters for this, just to be on the safe side, which is 255 characters, close parenthesis. And remember, we need to have a comma at the end of that command line. Then we're going to hit enter, and we want the city, space, varchar or variable character, open parenthesis. We'll put 255 as a limit, excuse me, as well, with a close parenthesis, and end it with a comma. Next, we're going to want to post the code. Type in post the code. Okay, and space, again, variable character. And we'll limit this to 50, open parenthesis, 50, close parenthesis, and comma. Now, the last thing we want for this table is we want the telephone number of the customer. So we'll hit enter, type in a field called telephone. Space, and we're going to identify this data type as an integer, so int. Now, something that's important here, whenever we're writing codes or commands for SQL, when we get to the final command line, we do not need to put a comma there, okay? Instead, we'll hit enter and we'll put a closed parenthesis. So we've got our opening. Where's my mouse gone? Here we are. We've got an opening parenthesis here and a closing parenthesis here. And we do not need a comma at the end of this. All right, so at the end of this, we're going to right-click and save. Save the query. We'll call it customer SQL. And we'll select OK. Okay. Now, if you have a look, you can see here we've got a query and it says customer SQL. Now, when we run this query, if everything is coded correctly, it should automatically create that customer table for us. And it did. I just hit run and you can see it created a table. So I'm going to close my SQL. And now I can view my customer table, just like, if you had built it by, manually within Access, or if you import it from an Excel spreadsheet. So let's open this up and let's go to design view. So we'll right click, we'll choose design view. And here is our table. Now, the only modification I'm going to want to make here, you can see because we list customer ID as an integer, it's recognized it as a number, but it's also our primary key. So with that, we are going to want to have a unique ID number for each customer in our data set. So what we're going to do is we're just going to modify this data type. We're going to switch it from number to auto number. Okay, and in that way, once we create a form for this, and as we're adding customers, even if they have the same name, each customer will then have a unique ID number, and this primary key is what we will be using to create a relationship between this table and another table within our relational database model. So I'm going to save this table now. I'm going to close the table, and I want to show you a way of reviewing your code even after you've created it. What we can do, if you're trying to create another table and use the same create command within SQL, you can go down to your SQL query, Just select it, highlight it, right click and choose design view. And now you can see exactly how you wrote the code. So this can be quite helpful. You can even copy and paste it if you want to create other identical tables just with different names on it. That's definitely a quick way of doing that. So I'll just close that for now. So that is a quick introduction on using the create command within structured query language SQL. So thanks for joining me, and I will see everybody on the next video. Bye for now.